Cameras. They're a complicated thing. Some are trickier than others, but if you know how to work them, you'll come out with a great photograph. Figuring out the settings on a DSLR camera can be a little tricky, but once you know these simple steps, your pictures will be looking professional in the matter of moments. First things first, you'll need a DSLR camera and know some basic camera terminology. Before we begin going over the steps of how to organize your settings, there are a few things we want to try and stay away from. We are hoping to stay away from blurry photos, overexposed photos, and dark and underexposed photos. While taking photographs and choosing your settings, it is important to stay away from these certain looks. Now that we have some prerequisites and things to avoid out of the way, we are ready to begin to choose our settings. Step 1. Know what you're shooting. Are you outside? Is it cloudy? Is it sunny? Are you shooting? These are some important things to know. Step 2. Set manual or autofocus. These are exactly what they sound like. Would you like to choose what your lens should focus on, or would you like the camera to decide? I recommend autofocus if you're shooting a subject that is constantly moving. If you're shooting something like a garden or a still object, I would recommend manual focus for more artsy shots. Step 3. The next couple steps will rely on trial and error. Step 3. The shutter speed. As I explained in my simple explanation, when taking a picture, the mirror rises, allowing the shutter to come down, then making the light able to hit the sensor. The higher or faster the shutter speed, the clearer the image. The lower or slower, the blurrier the image. Step 3. Set the ISO. ISO denotes how sensitive the image sensor is to the amount of light present. In non-digital cameras, to change your ISO settings, you would have to physically change the film. However, with digital cameras, it's just a press of the button. The higher the ISO, the brighter the photo. The lower the ISO, the darker and blurrier the image. Be careful, for if you raise or lower the ISO too much, you may end up with a grainy picture. Step 3. Set the aperture. Aperture controls how big the diameter of the lens opening is. The larger the diameter, the more amount of light that is let into the lens. Aperture is expressed as an f-stop. The smaller the f-stop, or the f-value, the larger the lens, or the aperture. As Aaron Siskind once said, photography is a way of feeling, of touching, of loving. What you have caught on film is captured forever. It remembers little things long after you have forgotten everything. I retrieved most of my sources from photoexcels.com or psychlink.com.